Thanks for your dancing there, Dan. I really appreciate this. Hello, everyone, and welcome to our latest webinar. This is a recap of KubeCon Europe 2025, which occurred at the XL London in London, England. I'm joined today by Dan Garfield, VP of OSS, who is our dancing clown or monkey, whatever you want to call him today. How's it going, Dan?
Those are both great descriptions. Well, I was just jamming to that intro music. It was good.
Yeah. So welcome to the webinar, and welcome and thank you for taking the time to join us. This is a webinar that we did last year for both KubeCon Europe and KubeCon North America, where Dan and I just basically went through a summary of maybe some of the things you may have missed at KubeCon. As you may know or may not know, Dan is actually one of the organizers for ArgoCon. He's part of the committer list of folks who commit to Argo. So he's heavily involved in KubeCon and all the organizations workings, etc. around the CNCF. He's helped part of the organizing committee for KubeCon Japan. Is that correct?
And yeah, I was on the committee for program committee for KubeCon Japan.
Yeah. So there you go. So we have the right person here to tell us everything about you may have seen or may not have seen at KubeCon. But before we begin, I'd just like to set the stage here. We've got a whole bunch of webinars that are coming up. We're going to highlight some things during this webinar. Of course, you're in the right place here for KubeCon Europe, the recap. But tomorrow we've got Wednesday, I apologize. Wednesday, we've got Idan, who's going to give us a summary of everything that's new inside of GitHub, CodeFresh GitOps Cloud. We are going to take a small little look at it here. Dan's got a demo primed and ready to go for this, but Idan's going to be walking through everything relative to that. This is something we announced, which we'll talk about in a second. We have our 101 series, which is also coming up later this week. This is where I kind of kick the tires of Octopus Deploy. If you have any questions about what Octopus Deploy looks like, how it works, etc. And then another demo or another thing that we'll be showing that we showcased at KubeCon is, of course, our Kubernetes Live Object Status, which is support for being able to display the live object status of the various objects within Kubernetes, your pods, your services, etc., networking, etc., all that stuff. Everything from manifest files to the logs, to the events, that all goes into that. We'll display that now inside of Octopus. So we'll have Kit and Nick talking about that later on. Anyways, we are here to discuss KubeCon Europe. As you can see by the banner, the event has passed. Dan, you're still coming home from KubeCon, is that correct?
Yeah, I haven't even made it home yet. I got my suitcases right next to me. I'm like practically on the scene, so I was very happy to see that. And you can see I am repping my Argo t-shirt, which shout out to Carlos Santana for joining us in the chat, who wore his all day on the plane today, and I definitely know that feeling. So good on you, Carlos.
Yeah, this is where you start to take advantage of the hotel facilities like laundry after you're traveling for a bit. So there you go.
Yeah, no. So it was. Yeah, go ahead. I was just going to say it was a great show.
Yeah, I was just going to ask, like, what were your thoughts? What was your overall impressions of KubeCon Europe 2025?
So first off, this is probably, I want to say it's like my 16th KubeCon. I mean, I've been to every North America and EU KubeCon from the beginning, with the very exception of the KubeCon in San Francisco, the very, very first one, which is really funny because I was living there at the time. So I don't know how I missed that one, but London was spectacular. I think the city was really friendly. The facilities and how easy it was to get there was really cool. And so we definitely saw the usual character suspects. You just passed by Joseph Sandoval, who was one of the co-chairs for this KubeCon and also one of the co-chairs for Salt Lake. So yeah, I was really happy with it. The venue itself, I'm not going to get that. People don't care that much about the venue, but it was, I bring it up only because it's basically a mall that has the conference happening inside the mall. So like normally in a conference, you're like kind of in a food desert where you're like in the middle of nowhere in a way. Yeah. And if you wanted to go to a restaurant, you have to like leave. But in this case, you could like step out of the conference and you were like in the mall. And so you could just walk over to like a restaurant like that was already there. So that was pretty unique and different experience. But the colos were well attended. We had really good. I actually shout out to the CNCF. They said that ArgoCon was the largest co-located event at this year's KubeCon, and they said it wasn't particularly close. So I was very happy to see that. I'm still waiting for the final numbers exactly, but we had sessions with over 1,100 people, standing room only sessions at ArgoCon. So that was phenomenal. Great feedback from the community so far. A lot of the talks were well referenced, and those talks are already available on YouTube. They were uploaded, I think, that night. So that was really cool. Carlos brought up that he felt like it almost felt like 2 full expo centers. It did feel a little bit like that because the expo for KubeCon was kind of split into 2 rooms. And so it definitely felt like a larger conference and a lot of excitement in from the audiences and everything.
Nice. And so ArgoCon was obviously something that you were heavily involved with. You can see all the talks here, as Dan mentioned, they're up on YouTube. If you go to the CNCF channel, you see them listed there. Be aware that as every KubeCon concludes, sorry, I'm getting my alliteration going, you start to see a whole plethora of videos that show up. So the ones that are here in purple are obviously the ArgoCon ones, but as you probably can tell, with all the co-located events, etc., there's a ton of videos that are published. And so just be aware that there's going to be a mountain of videos there. So as more videos become online, this list will probably go to the bottom. You can search obviously for ArgoCon to find them. So what was your overall impression of ArgoCon? You guys had a fun time, I'm sure.
Yeah, we had great attendance, and the sessions were full. The speakers were pretty happy. We did see, within ArgoCon, we referenced the 4 main projects of Argo. So Argo CD, Argo workflows, Argo rollouts, Argo events. And initially, just some behind the scenes, I had planned on not including Argo events as maybe having a big project update because I hadn't heard that much change in that project. And the maintainers that work on that reached out to me and they said, hey, we actually have had like 3 releases this year. We've got a ton of new features that have been happening. We've been bringing a lot of attention to the project. So we made sure to get that in. The other big change for Argo is that for the very first time, we represented the Helm releases as their own project within Argo. In the past, it's really funny. Most people that use Argo CD, Argo workflows, they use it from the Helm package. And until this year, the Helm package was not an official release. It was considered an unofficial release. And so we kind of moved those maintainers up and made them part of the main project governance. And so we had them come and talk about what they've been doing, and they showed how quickly they're getting the releases out and how they track statistics. And it was really impressive to see the level of precision that they're bringing to those releases to make sure they're done on time and done well, and that you can rely on those Helm releases as an official, resource. So that was awesome.
Awesome.
And then Carlos was giving me a shout out there that he said the opening session. So yeah, this was another thing where I was asked to give the main project update. In the past, we've had Pratik do that. He's kind of the person that I would say I credit the most with creating Argo. And he wasn't available in this one. And the maintainers basically got together and said, hey, Dan, we'd like you to do it. Sometimes you like to dance on the stage, and we appreciate that,
Sure.
that energy. So I got to do it, which was really cool to highlight the use cases that we have. Love Holidays has a case study that just came out. They handle trillions of travel combinations per day using Argo CD, 1,100 deployments a month. So that was a cool case study to highlight. But we had a bunch of other stats. 50% of Kubernetes clusters being deployed to using Argo these days. So that's really impressive, and a bunch of other big wins. So yeah, check out the session. Let me know if you have any thoughts on it or from the community, or commentary.
Now, I'm assuming you guys are already looking at the next event around Argo, which is what?
It's going to be ArgoCon in Atlanta, North America. Yeah.
All right. And when is that?
It's going to be in November, I want to say. We're not going to be doing one for Japan. So there's these 3 additional KubeCons, China, India, and Japan, that have, some of them been around a little bit longer. India's new this year, where we have managed to have an Argo kiosk with at least an Argo maintainer or 2 was able to be at those ones in India. I don't know if we're going to be able to get somebody into the Japan one. We'll see. But that's definitely something that's on our mind and on our radar.
Okay. to give people a sense or a perspective of what were the sights and sounds of us being there. This was our booth at KubeCon, so you can see we had a bunch of folks there from Octopus. Dan, I don't see you here. Maybe
I'm
you were
not in this one.
busy.
This is the day
Yeah,
one. I remember they took this picture and I was like just out of frame. I was just setting up the
you're
Argo
probably taking it.
booth. And then the day
Yeah,
two, I was in the day two one. But yeah.
yeah. This is the sort of like Tron floating, sort of design we have going on here. So it was actually a lot of fun. We actually had a lot of demos. There's Liam giving a demo of
Yeah.
our integration with Kubernetes.
Liam signed some books. That was cool.
Yeah, it's his world. We're all living in it. These were some of the sort of displays we had. You could poke your face through the hole here and get your picture taken, which was great. There's you, the demo theater, giving a presentation. I don't know on what. If we look closely, I guess we could probably see. But what's this here? Oh, CodeFresh. Gotcha. So you're probably showing GitOps Cloud there.
Yeah, doing GitOps Cloud in this one. Yeah.
All right, cool. Let me see, what else did we have? Oh, there's Joanna with all our giveaways. Awesome. Yeah, we had lots of books there. We had Steve's books, which is here. We had Matt's book here. And then there's our white paper, the Kubernetes Delivery Unlock, that we also had.
Yeah,
What are you
books,
laughing at?
trainings, stickers.
Yeah, exactly.
I was laughing because it's just so much stuff, but it's just like anybody we talked to, it was like, oh, have you done the GitOps certification training yet? Boom, here you go. We had some discount codes. We don't always do that, but this time we were able to make it happen. So that was cool.
Very nice. There's Frank
Costas.
and there's Costas. Yeah.
Yeah, Costas is Argo rollouts maintainer and been doing a lot of great work there. And of course, he wrote the certification and training. Here you've got Reggie, who's Argo CD maintainer, who's on the open source team, and Dag, who's this amazing external collaborator. Been doing a lot of great work.
Awesome.
And that was something that was at ArgoCon. This was something that Carlos brought up in the chat, is just like how wide ranging the speakers were for ArgoCon. You know, we had people from kind of all walks of life, all kinds of different folks speaking, but we didn't have any. It's funny because when we built the ArgoCon schedule, we kind of built it and then we looked afterwards and we're like, how do we do? Like, do we have enough different companies here? And we really didn't have to like go and say like, oh, we need to add additional speakers. Like, it just worked out that way. So really cool.
Yeah, very cool. Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Alessandro. Welcome to the stream.
Yeah, so we got a bunch of stickers, of course.
UK ones. We got those London ones. London exclusives going on there.
Always looking good. Yeah, they're okay. So we had a huge booth attendance here, which is like kind of hard to pick out what's going on here. Just a mountain of people. And then there's you can see Jenny here in the corner.
Is that Jenny back there cheering? Yeah. Routing, begging for help.
Yep. Yeah. So yeah, we had lots of folks presenting. I'm just gonna roll through the photos here. There's Bob on stage.
There's Bob. Bob did a great job. He crushed it.
Yeah. So I love the photo here. The combination of Mentos plus Coke. This is when you're doing a merge of two branches after a long time. Fun things will happen. Yeah. So this was the Open Feature Summit. So Bob's a big fan of Open Feature, which is a CNCF project, which allows you to basically express capabilities of your applications in a generic way so that you can provide all kinds of things. You know, oftentimes
feature flagging. Open source feature flagging. Yeah, it's a great project.
You got to do this in a generic way, because when you do, it makes it easier for you to implement towards standards, etc. So that's kind of part of the reason Open Telemetry, Open Feature, these sorts of standards are really great for that. And,
he came out with this, what sounded like a very controversial take at this summit, which was to talk about how people are getting canary releases wrong. And he and I talked about it a little bit, because what he was seeing essentially was people saying like, oh, I'm going to do a canary release so I can test a new feature. And that's like a big no-no. It's like, no, man, that's not what canary is like for reducing your blast radius. You don't use it to test a new feature. You use it to prevent catastrophic failures, but you use something like Open Feature to actually test a feature.
Yep, I'm with you. So yeah, we had a great time at the event. Lots of stuff that we did. I'm just going to switch back here over to our events page here, which is this is the one that we kept touting for folks to check out when we went to KubeCon. We had a bunch of stuff that was going on, and it's kind of a summary. Of course, Bob was front and center for a lot of our live demos, and we had giveaways, etc. We had a exclusive Fox XL event. We had a magician. His name was Adam, where he was doing a bunch of tricks with cards, etc. Obviously, and so we had these special playing cards that were made up with Octopus deploy logos on them, which was always fun. So that was a lot of fun. Did you go to that event? Did you have time to go to
I
that
did
event?
go to it, and I saw the magician working the crowd, and every time he would like come over, someone would tap me on the shoulder and be like, "Oh, Dan, I need to introduce you to this person." And
Yeah.
I never got to see him perform after all of that.
Yep. I wonder how magicians feel like if you go up to them with the fake thumb, you're like, "Hey, check it out," and they're like, "Yeah, I've seen it." So, and of course you had the Jeopardy event, of course.
Oh yeah, we
How did
did
this go?
do we did Kubernetes Jeopardy, and that was pretty fun. For those of you who've never seen it, and it's not recorded there, but some of the questions are jokes, and some of them are actually really hard questions. So you get a really variety of stuff, but it was a lot of fun.
Yep. And then, of course, we did the summary of ArgoCon. Anyways, this is all to basically say if you're at all interested in what we did and what we were doing at KubeCon, you can check out our events page, which is listed here. And everything you'll find listed on our events page, which is at octopus.com/events. So getting into some of the announcements that we made. So I mentioned them briefly here. We talked a little bit about CodeFresh, GitOps Cloud, and then obviously live object status. But I did want to take a moment here to basically reinforce the fact that we have this new application available, which is basically CodeFresh GitOps Cloud, a solution for folks who are looking to get some visibility and some management capabilities about their projects. So, did you want to talk a little bit about this?
Yeah, I'll just give maybe just like a brief, GitOps Cloud is this really cool platform tool that lets you really get a lot more out of Argo. Not just Argo CD, but Argo in general, but Argo CD for sure. And the big thing that we were really demoing was this environment promotion feature where you can define your environments. And we all define environments differently. Production could be a single Kubernetes cluster. Maybe it's a namespace. Maybe it's several Kubernetes clusters located in a region. Maybe it's multiple regions. And CodeFresh lets you define an environment however you want. And then as a developer, when I push to production, it's going to go and update all the applications there that are relevant. It's a really cool thing. I think maybe if we have time near the end, we'll do a little bit of demoing there, unless you'd rather I spend a minute on it now. I know we have a lot of stuff to cover.
It's fine. I mean, I just wanted to, it's kind of a way of just building towards the promoting of the webinar we have. But yeah, let's go ahead and just take a quick look at it.
Yeah, definitely go to this full webinar tomorrow, but I'll share my screen here. So
all right.
I'll just show you, just whet the appetite, if you will. Here I am inside of CodeFresh, and this is a control plane for Argo CD. So you can see if you've used Argo before, this is going to look very familiar. I've got my application tiles, and I've got a lot of additional information in here, and there are some really cool quality of life improvements to using this. The most basic thing to understand is that I could be looking at any number of different Argo instances here. So here, our runtime is essentially an Argo CD instance. You can see I've got this. I've actually got multiple runtimes here that I can switch between, but I can view them all in this single place. So that's nice. Now, the environment promotion feature, and I'm going to show you maybe a manual promotion really quick and kind of explain a little bit how this works. But of course, come back tomorrow and watch the full thing with Idan, because he does a great job explaining this, and he's going to go through a lot of the in-depth features. But the classic problem that most teams have, they're using Argo CD. It works great. They can get changes, deployed, but then how do they orchestrate above the layer of a single application? How do you orchestrate between multiple applications where you're going to go from version 1 to version 2? So let's say, for example, I've got Loan here. And you can see that this actually represents an application called Loan Staging, whereas this one is linking Loan EU. But I know that they're part of this loan. We call it a product, which means they're part of the same life cycle. And if I wanted to deploy what was currently in staging into production, and I was doing this manually, I wasn't doing the automated flow, I could actually grab loan here and just drag and drop that into production. And this is going to generate a diff for me and show me exactly what that promotion means. And it is an app version bump along with a new image tag. And there's some other cool things. Like you can see I can't do a pull request because there is a promotion policy that occurs to this production environment where you can only do it as a commit. And in this case, it's going to let me select workflows, but it could be required. There could be policy that says, oh, it has to be a pull request and you have to run these workflows. And I can add additional, messages and things here, and then promote it. And this will open a pull request or make a commit depending on the policy. And I can actually kick that whole process off to deploy it. Now, that's a manual one. The big thing, there's so many big things to show, but let me just show you really quick. I'm going to go to the products view. So here you can see I have a product called accounts. And you can see that this represents multiple Argo CD applications. And in my production US environment, I actually have 2 instances of this that need to be updated. But most organizations have differences in these different applications that need to be respected. So how do I handle those differences so that only the stuff that should get promoted gets promoted and the stuff that shouldn't? Well, that's part of a promotion policy, a promotion setting. So here you can see I've got like I'm promoting my chart.yaml, my app version path, and my values. I'm pulling this image tag. Let's say I wanted to make sure that I was also promoting changes to like my resources. I can do that here. Let's see if with the stream, I've maybe running a little bit slow on my internet here.
No, you're fine.
There we go.
You're fine.
There's my values. And I can specify like these resources and wildcard it. And there I've created this pathway where this resource is now going to also be updated as part of a promotion. And this is all part of just a CRD. Everything inside of CodeFresh is either it's just a CRD, it's a file that's committed to Git. Every action is not a save button, it's a commit button that goes and commits that resource. So you can just create a very granular pathway for things to be promoted from one to another. And I can also have, you can see the releases here. I can have different release flows applying to the same products. So for example, if I have like a hot fix and that should, it requires some extra approval, but once it's approved, it's automatically deployed. I can do that. I can have that flow and have it apply, and I can have multiple flows applied. So anyway, there's a lot of really cool stuff in here. At the headline here, this is a control plane for Argo that allows you to orchestrate the promotions and a whole hell of a lot of other stuff. So definitely come back tomorrow and get the full webinar with Idan, because it's really, it'll revolutionize the way that you deliver software. That's really, really impactful.
So the official date for this is what time zones? It's always confusing because it is tomorrow technically for me, the 9th.
Oh yeah, for me it's in 2 days. Yeah, I see.
Yeah, it's 2 days. So there you go. So join us for that. You can find out more by visiting our website, which is at octopus.com/webinars. There you'll find a whole bunch of really cool webinars that are coming up. There's a link there, including our introduction to CodeFresh GitOps Cloud, which is awesome. And Idan is definitely the right person to kind of kick the tires and show everyone what's latest and greatest in there.
And boy, if you can't wait, just go to codefresh.io and click sign up. You get 45 days free. You can go just try this thing and kick the tires. Let me know what you think. I'd love to hear your feedback. If you think we got something wrong, I want to know about it. And I think you're going to find a lot that we did right. And hopefully you'll shout about it. Carlos.
Awesome.
Sorry, Carlos is asking, is this a new thing or are the promotion features new? So the promotion features, a lot of this promotion stuff, we've added a number of features there, including the big one, which is bring your own Argo. So in the past, we have had promotions, but you had to upgrade your Argo CD instance if you had an existing one to CodeFresh GitOps. And it wasn't a difficult process, but it was a process. And if you're touching production, you've got 4,000 applications, that could be stressful. So that's now you can just connect your own existing Argo CD instance. Idan will demo that tomorrow. And then we also took a lot of what we did for the enterprise and we packaged it into this very accessible, try and buy experience with a very, accessible price, and some other features that were announced as part of this. So kind of a new formulation of some things that have been battle tested in the enterprise, but are now available to everybody.
And as Dan rightly said, you can sign up for a free trial. So the big green button here, go ahead and click that, and you can kick the tires yourself, which is awesome. This was one of the major announcements, of course, that we made at KubeCon. And looks like we've got Carlos adding some other questions here. So he's saying, is GitOps Cloud a new thing? Oh, Sarah, that was the previous question. Own Argo instance. I'm listening. All right. You have my attention. You had my curiosity. Now you have my attention.
Yeah,
That's
if you go in there, I mean, I can even just show if you go to CodeFresh, and you'll be guided through this experience. When you go to add a runtime and you have an existing Argo CD, it just gives you essentially a Helm chart that you can install with an agent that will get things going for you.
Very good. That's awesome. So yeah, you can check this out. Dan, of course, is providing the little teaser there, as we like to call it, and the real sort of demo you want to see is the webinar that we have coming up, which is going to be awesome. Some other things that were happening at KubeCon, ArgoCon, etc., CloudNativeCon, whatever you want to call it, all the cons. You mentioned this one earlier, K-Agent. What's this?
Yes. Yeah. Okay. So this is a pretty exciting project, and it's got all the right buzzwords, folks. We've got AI, we've got Kubernetes, all in the same bucket, and we even have the brand new model context, the protocols, the MCPs, which is a very hot topic. So K-Agent is a new tool. Primarily coming out of Solo.io for people that know that company. Very cool company, lots of great work. They're the folks behind Envoy, which has probably been one of the most successful cloud native projects. And K-Agent aims to be essentially like what Cursor has done to your web development experience or your just development experience. K-Agent wants to do that for your operations experience. So they have a pretty big library of MCPs, including one for Argo rollouts to help you convert existing Kubernetes deployments to Argo rollouts. And I had the chance to demo this with the team there. Christian gave me a demo, and I chatted with some of the engineers who worked on it, and really impressed with it. So MCPs have been getting like just a ton of attention because one of the big problems in AI that people have been trying to figure out is like, okay, like AI can do this, crunching of data, but I really need to connect in a bunch of other tooling. So MCPs have become this standard protocol that allows you to basically wrap an API with a task and a prompt and then pass it to an LLM so you can give it a task and it will know how to do it. And there's an API for it to go and talk to things. And I chatted with the engineer from Solo.io. Her name is Nina, who put together the MCP for Argo rollouts. And she was just sharing how quick and easy that experience was. And there's already an MCP from the community for Argo CD. I haven't had a chance to play with it yet, but K-Agent as a project was only created a couple weeks ago and is already being admitted into a sandbox with the CNCF. So that's moving at lightning speed. You just don't see things moving that quickly usually in the CNCF. So they were featured during the keynote. They had a project keynote where they announced this tool is coming in the sandbox. So I'm excited to play with it some more myself, but I did get a chance to look at it at the show, and could be very interesting. There's another tool coming out from Darren Shepard of Rancher fame that's kind of in a similar space. I don't remember the name of it. It's named like after a butler or something. It's not Jenkins. But yeah, it's kind of trying to do the same thing where it's bringing together kind of this AI interface to an operations world.
Gotcha. We also had a number of updates to projects. Obviously, the CNCF has a huge mandate with the amount of projects that are there. There was a bunch of lightning talks that were mentioned there, and we had a bunch of updates that were made to projects throughout. The Pavilion map is quite impressive with all the projects there. I remember last time, I think I was at KubeCon Europe, in Paris, and I was blown away by the number of pavilions that were there, about all the projects that were there. Some of the ones you see listed, Backstage, Solilium, for example, Container D. They just list just keeps going on and on. Crossplane, eBPF, etc. I mean, I think we're running out of letters at this point, right? But obviously there was a lot of project updates that were announced as part of KubeCon. I think a lot of projects try to tie their announcements around this. So we had some updates around OpenTelemetry. We had some updates around the Kepler project, which is obviously in a sandbox as well. We had some, as you mentioned, K-Agent. We had a bunch of open source tools that were emerging. I think there was, at last count, there was like 27 open source projects that were listed that were trying to address
AI
problems in
oriented.
this
Yeah.
space. Yep,
Yeah,
Shipwright came
that's
up
right.
for container image building, coordinator for resource scheduling, and others as well. So bunch of projects. Anyone that jumped out at you while at KubeCon?
Well, and I think the thing that got my brain tickling about this K-Agent was that with MCPs coming online, we really have a way to enable the AI story that people want to execute without necessarily having to reinvent the wheel. Basically, every provider can have an MCP around, and then whatever people want to build on top of that, that really opens the doors for them. So I think that's probably the first step where we're going to start to see a lot more movement from people building things. So that one stood out to me. The one that we didn't talk about because it was actually a precursor to KubeCon was, of course, the announcement of Argo CD 3.0, because we had a
Yes.
release candidate just ahead of KubeCon, and the blog post was published about a week before KubeCon. So Argo
The
CD
small but mighty
3.0,
announcement.
the small but mighty release, and it's called that, by the way, because it's meant to be small enough that everybody can make that upgrade easily. But it's mighty because it's packed with optimizations, performance improvements, security improvements, and a lot of those things are making default things that have become the standard best practice into X releases, but not everybody knows about yet. For example, the way that we track resources, how we handle permissions by default. All of those kinds of things have been baked into Argo CD 3.0. We actually did Carlos and I for Argo Unpacked did a deep dive on Argo CD 3.0, and I'm going to be at KCD San Francisco next month to talk about Argo CD 3.0. And we're just going to keep that drum roll going because we want people to get that upgrade done. 2X releases are only going to be supported essentially through the end of the year. So you really do need to be switching over to 3.0. Shortly after it goes GA, hopefully, and that's planned for next month. I think May 6th is the date.
Got the wrong one here listed. Sorry, thought this was the
No,
one.
that's the right. No. Sorry, that's the right event where I'm going to go and talk about it. I was saying the release is going to be done May 6th.
Oh, sorry.
So this will be a few weeks after the production ready release.
So yeah, the RC's out. Is that right? The RC's out now?
RC is out.
Okay.
And there's actually an updated blog post from this that is tied to the RC release.
There you go. So Dan, this was the one that you wrote. Yep.
Yeah.
Did we have any plushies to give away? I don't think I saw any at our booth.
We didn't give away any plushies this time around. I'll tell you though, Intuit had a bunch of extra ones because when they did KubeCon Paris, they had a bunch of plushies delivered and they got stuck in customs for 2 days. So they've been storing their Paris plushies essentially since the last event so they could give them away at London.
I always love to think in my head the conversation you're having with the customs officials. No, seriously, like people love these. Like the guys looking at them like, what is this?
Guys, this is my Octopus plushie. It's critical to the business. I gotta get this. And they're like,
that's right.
Oh, sorry, we were gonna give it to you, but these other people needed medical supplies. No, we need the octopuses. Give them to us.
Yes. Another update that was posted by you up on X. Boom, another win for Open GitOps. 77% of respondents, this is for a survey, obviously, said that some, much, or nearly all of their deployment practices and tools adhere to GitOps principles.
Yeah, we're seeing this pretty industry wide where everybody is really embracing the ideas of GitOps and the GitOps principles. And so I love to see that. So like, first of all, I was really excited to see this data coming out of the CNCF, and I'm excited to dig into the rest of the report and see what other data we can find in there, and see what kind of movement we see versus last year. But the call out for GitOps as a top level observation from the CNCF is really promising, because GitOps is really becoming the de facto way to deliver software. Now, I will say there's a little caveat. We talked about this in the Argo Impact episode today, that a lot of people that hear GitOps say, oh yeah, I use Git, I do ops, I'm totally doing GitOps. And they maybe miss that maybe they're doing the first or second principle of GitOps, but maybe they're still missing those third and fourth principles of GitOps. Just using Terraform and doing your TF apply and then storing it in Git isn't really getting all of the benefits of GitOps. So I do think that there's still education to be done there that we're seeing. But the fact that well over 70% now of people are saying, close to 80% are saying, yeah, we're adopting GitOps. We've adopted it. We love it. Love to see that.
Fantastic. And these and other more pertinent sort of information, if you're all curious, can be seen by this report here, which is available up on the Linux Foundation website, which is at linuxfoundation.org. This is for Cloud Native 2024, approaching a decade of code, cloud, and change. Again, more alliteration. I love these reports. These are the sort of state of type reports. There's the state of JavaScript, I think, kicked everything off in this sort of realm. The state of CSS, state of Kubernetes security I saw was one that was run by Red Hat, for example. So lots of state ofs, which are great.
And I love too, they always provide the raw data. So if you want to go in and do some additional, they always do like, hey, here's our top level observations, but you can go through and data mine that thing. And I found a ton of insights in there. Like we were sharing that from the last year's report, that we found that about half of people using Kubernetes were using Argo CD to deploy to it. So we guessed about half of clusters were using Argo CD. Based on that data. And I will also say that we have a report coming out specific to GitOps best practices and adoptions. Steve Fenton's been working on this one. So right. we thought about, I think he was talking to me about maybe getting it done for London, but he basically said, hey man, there's so many things going on. There's so many announcements. There's some more data mining we want to do on these results before we release it. So that'll be coming out in the next month or two. And I think is going to be really exciting.
Yeah, we're going to have it listed up on our publications section, which is at /publications. And we have a bunch of other resources you can check out there. But we've done the survey. We're still...
If you're watching this show and you're following it, you're going to hear about it. Yeah, you're going to hear about it.
All right, Dan. Well, it looks like we're at the end of our time. So just to wrap up, just to remind folks, we've got our webinar coming up with Idan, who's going to be talking about CodeFresh GitOps Cloud. You're not going to want to miss that. It's going to be action-packed, demo-heavy. And then, of course, the other one that we mentioned is Kubernetes Live Object Status with Nick and Kit. That's on Tuesday, February 15th. But this was all about a summary of everything that happened at KubeCon CloudNativeCon. Sounds like it was a hit. Lots of really exciting things. If you haven't been to KubeCon, you should probably check it out. Our next one, next big one, I guess, is in Atlanta. That's in November. That's for the U.S. folks.
We are going to be at the Japan one in June.
Yes,
and I think
there's also
do we have a booth at China?
Yeah, I'm not sure. We'll have to check. So I'm still waiting to hear back on that. We've got China, India, Japan. There's a whole bunch of events that are around the world around KubeCon. But definitely check it out. It's definitely a very impressive event, and I was quite impressed by the attendance that I saw last time I went. Awesome. All right, that about wraps it up for us. Hope you enjoyed today's webinar. As always, feel free to check out all our other webinars at octopus.com/webinars. Dan, thank you very much for the summary. It sounds like I'm jealous. I wish I could have been there, but you're still in transit. So I guess, I guess I'm not so jealous. You're having to do your laundry from your hotel. So there you go.
That's true. That's true.
Awesome. All right. Well, from all of us to all of you, happy deployments, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care, everyone.